Yeah, so I stream on Twitch as Bluntcast, which is sort of a portmanteau of broadcasting, like broadcast, and my surname, which is Blunt. So I was like, I'll just put those together. Um, and I started streaming on Twitch back in 2014. I tried to break into Twitch as sort of an Overwatch streamer. I wanted to stream a lot of Overwatch that had just come out at the time. It felt like that was like my jam, and I streamed quite a bit, and I had a great time with it. But I didn't really find much of a footing on Twitch, and I felt really demotivated by that. Um, I got hit with like a follower bot way back, and it totally inflated my stats and gave me this. I was like, I can do this. Yeah, I've got hundreds of followers, but actually, no one was watching. And I got really demotivated by that and kind of just gave up and sort of threw a bit of a tantrum about the whole thing. I was like, I can't believe it. I'm never going to make it on Twitch. Forget it. It's over. And completely resigned myself to my fate. But like with many people, during lockdown, I found myself with way more time, and I was working from home. I had the comfort of being able to have a second monitor. And while I wasn't having anything work related up on my second monitor, I'd be watching Twitch. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should give this another try. And I did, and I'm so glad. I found my footing and found a fantastic community of people, and it's been such an amazing and affirming sort of few months. Um, I mainly stream sort of old games like retro games or survival horror games, mainly Resident Evil games. I love me some Resident Evil. Um, so that's been the lion's share of my sort of streaming content since I sort of came back in September 2020.
Have you always been into gaming?
Oh my God, absolutely. So I one of my first sort of memories is being sat in my childhood home's living room with we had a my grandfather, actually, my mum's dad, had a Super Nintendo, and he used to love playing Super Mario World on the SNES. And he used to try and jump in real life. He used to like throw the controller up like he was like a Wii remote almost with his controller, to try and jump. And as a kid, I was just so amused by it. And eventually, when I had the hand-eye coordination to actually play it, I was hooked. And from there, it all went downhill. Any productivity I had was gone. I was hooked from a very young age. Um, so yeah, I've almost always been a console player. So I had a Nintendo 64 growing up, and then I got an Xbox, and I was so excited about that. Um, and then it's only been since I think it was 2013. I went to university. I lived in sort of university accommodation on a corridor with loads of different people, and a bunch of people came in who had gaming PCs, and I was like, "Whoa, this is awesome!" And they were like, "Hey, you should get a gaming PC." And I had like a crummy hand-me-down MacBook. It was one with like the rubber bottom, where if it got too hot, the case warped, and it was just the jankiest laptop ever. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna save up a bunch of money, and I'm gonna build myself a computer." And I did, and I've never looked back. It was super fun building it, and since then I've just loved having a computer and being able to play games, and obviously that's facilitated stuff like streaming. And yeah,
What's your favorite game at the moment?
well, Resident Evil Village has just come out, and I am a huge fan of the series and of Resident Evil 7, the one that came out before it. So that is going to be taking up at sort of this time. It's been a few days since it came out. I've got, I want to say, 26 hours put into it so far. And that's barely scratched the surface. I can tell that there's so much more for me to get out of it. So I'm thoroughly loving that. But there's a few sort of staples. I like to play things like League of Legends as a way to sort of connect with friends. It's a nice thing to play in the background while we chat and catch up. Um, and that's sort of my other staple.
I don't really know much about those kind of games, to be honest.
I mean, that's totally fair. They were very niche to me as a, coming into those games. I was sort of like, "Oh, I don't know if this is for me." And then once I gave them a shot, I was like, oh, okay, no, I see why people like these now. And it's especially with Resident Evil, some of them can be very obtuse and dated. So they're they're not everyone's cup of tea, but that's fine. I like them for what they are. So that's it's been a super fun time being able to play something new and scratch that survival horror itch.
How often are you streaming at the moment?
So I stream most weeks. I'll stream Monday, Thursday, and Sunday, um, which is sort of good for me. That's a regular routine that I really like. It gives me something to look forward to at the beginning and the end of every week, and sort of gets me through the working week. And I try and mix it up. So at the moment, we're doing like themed streams every week. So on a Monday, we're doing Master Sword Mondays because we love alliteration. So I'm doing all of the Zelda games, and we're doing Ocarina of Time, and then Wind Waker, then Twilight Princess, and then Breath of the Wild. I know there's more than that out there, but I just want to stick to the ones that I know are good. So we're going through those, and then on Thursdays at the moment, we're playing the Middle Earth games. So some Lord of the Rings games because I love me some Lord of the Rings. And then on Sundays, it's just sort of a bit of a free for all of whatever. Obviously, at the moment, Resident Evil Village is taking up most of that time.
Would you ever want to stream like full time?
Absolutely, I think that was sort of what uh, drew me into it. Well, no, what drew me into it at the start when I sort of first joined Twitch was so I was an only child growing up, and I was not socially gifted. I was really, really bad at making friends or anything like that. I just really struggled. So um, it was always really frustrating seeing loads of games or playing games that had like multiplayer. I played a lot of GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64, and there was a really, really famous, widely renowned multiplayer mode where you would play with friends and you sort of chase each other around trying to shoot each other. And I would used to spend my pocket money buying games magazines to read about games, and they would always be like, "Oh, GoldenEye's amazing multiplayer," and I was like, "I don't have any friends." So when I found out about Twitch, that was sort of this deep-rooted, sort of long dormant thing of being like, "Yeah, I can make friends on the internet." Yeah, um, and that's sort of what drew me to it at the start. But now I think as I've become so immersed in Twitch and sort of exploring it every day, trying to find new communities, seeing if I, seeing what other people are creating and meeting new communities all the time, I'm starting to think like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I probably could do this. I think I could do this full time, and I would love to. I would love to be able to make a living doing something that I'm so excited to do every day when if it's a night when I'm streaming, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, this is going to be so good. I'm so excited. Get me to that time when I go live. So I would love to be able to do it. And it's been very reassuring to hear people say that they think I could do it. I would expect, especially some of, my closest friends who I would hope would be honest enough with me to be like, this isn't working out if it wasn't. Um, but they haven't. They've said, you know, we think you can do this. And also to hear it from people who are quite well established on Twitch, who don't personally know me, who have only met me through Twitch and have only seen the content that I make, for them to then turn around and say, you can do really well on this platform if you keep at it, is incredibly reassuring and sort of vindicating. It does always make me feel like I want to go back in time and smack 2014 Bluntcast for being like, I'm giving up, because I feel like if I'd started 6 years ago, I probably would be quite a significant platform now on Twitch. But that having that hindsight, it would just make me upset. So I need to just enjoy it for what I have at the moment. I know that if I wanted to, if I regret not starting on Twitch sooner, then that's just gonna make me miserable. So I just need to be thankful for the community that I've got and the position that I've got. So I'd love to do it full time, and I think if I just persevere with it, it's not entirely impossible. But I know it takes a lot of work. I have a huge amount of respect for the people who do this full time, because doing something like a 12-hour stream, I end the broadcast and I feel miserable. I'm physically drained. My head is killing me. I've run out of things to say. I just wordlessly go and like get some food and just sit there staring off into nothing as my brain's just sort of melting away. So I've clearly got a long way to go before I can think about really committing to doing this professionally, but we'll see. We'll see what the future holds.
What would you say is your dream job?
This is a story that I've told to a few people before, so this might be old news to some people. But back in 2019, in January 2019, I had the good fortune to be able to attend the Resident Evil Safe House. It was a PR event for the launch of the Resident Evil 2 remake. It was in London, and I went up there, and I was so excited to go. This was a game that I'd been looking forward to for years, and I went with a really good friend of mine, one of my best friends. We went up there together, and it was like a haunted house. So you just sort of, there's actors playing the role of zombies and of survivors, and they're like, quick, run this way, oh, we have to go through here, you unlock this door, and stuff like that. Just a sort of immersive experience for 15 or so minutes. And then at the end of it, there was a bar with like branded Resident Evil beer and stuff like that. It was kind of nothingy, but I had a great time. It was a great day out. But afterwards, we sat down with a bunch of other people who'd been to the event, and we were just sort of making small talk. And I met the community manager for Capcom Europe, so the head of marketing, essentially, who's responsible for PR, promoting the product, who had essentially organized the entire event. And I got to sit down and have a drink and a chat with them, and they were incredible. They're an incredibly hardworking and inspirational individual, and they were very sort of open about their experiences as a woman with a visible disability working in quite a difficult environment, but also was very positive about the whole experience. And it in having that discussion with her, I kind of realized that was sort of the role that I would want to have. At university, I did both my degrees at the same university, and I was an ambassador for the university for 5 years. So I was just constantly going to events, representing the university and talking about my time there, talking about what the university could offer, essentially just being sort of a marketing rep. And I don't know why, I just really like the idea of being the face of a brand. Maybe that's just me being a bit of a egomaniacal person, but just the idea of being responsible for portraying something, especially something that you're passionate about, and having to coordinate things and organize something as exciting and as memorable as that Safe House event was for me, kind of really cemented it in my mind that I was like, that's what I would want to do. That's the thing. If I could do anything, that would be it. So that's kind of what I've now sort of like had a bit of an about turn, not quite a U-turn, but I've sort of had to change course with what I've been doing in my professional career to build towards that sort of thing, to get into marketing, to get into the games industry and get into community management. And it's harder than I thought it was going to be, but that's not dissuaded me at all. That would probably be what I want to do if I could do anything.
So
that's
what
all.
is it that you're doing at the moment to work towards this job?
So I took a job at Electronic Arts a year and a half ago. My goodness. Um, and that was sort of my first step. I was like, right, okay, if I want to do this, go for a company, get a job there, work in marketing. Um, and I was very fortunate to get an internship there. It was rigorous, lots and lots of interviews, very competitive. But I got there and it was amazing. The office was amazing. My team were great. But it was a really stressful time for me. I had a really difficult commute and I was just feeling very run down. And it was a very intense environment where it was sort of, there'd be days where it was non-stop and there were days when we just didn't have anything to do. And I really struggled. And then my contract was sort of coming up and then they decided not to extend it and I was just sort of left behind. Um, and at the time, I was honestly quite happy. It was like, oh my God, I'm free. The evil is defeated. I don't have to do this anymore. Um, and I made the jump to marketing in the private sector instead. Um, and I moved away from the games industry for a bit, but now I think it's uh, it's kind of frustrating that I feel like I took a step forward and then took a step back. But I do feel like I'm getting there. So I'm working in marketing. I'm taking sort of extracurricular, like extra credit, foundation courses in marketing and doing all that sort of thing. And the company I work for now are very generous. They're very comfortable with me working from home, and it's been a really really good experience. And it's been really relieving to come away from somewhere so intense and go to somewhere much more mindful and I don't know, they're just much more sympathetic to sort of my personal needs and how I work best, which is great. But I do have that itch to get back into the games industry and keep climbing that ladder to get to where I want to go. So that's where I'm at right now.
So do you always just plan on doing streaming like on the side?
I think for the foreseeable future, that would be the plan. I'd like to just keep streaming as something that I can just sort of continue to gradually build up over time. I I'm not doing it for the moment as a source of income or anything like that. I don't expect people to be spending any money to see the content that I'm putting out there. I just think it would be very good um, as a proof of concept or as sort of a personal project to see if I can market myself. I think being able to stand out on a platform as competitive and intensely saturated as Twitch is a testament to my own sort of capabilities of marketing myself and generating all of the content. It's all self-motivated, broadcasting the actual live streams and then scheduling the content and then going through and uploading clips to Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, doing all of that essentially for nothing and just doing it for the love of it, I think is something that looks really good on a CV. So um, I don't think I'd want to get rid of streaming as part of my routine now that it's become so ingrained into my sort of weekly cycle. I don't ever want to divorce myself from that. I think it's now become something that I'm so passionate about that I don't think I'm going to be able to stop.
What's your favorite thing about streaming?
I think it's just being able to connect with people um, and either having people sort of talk about something. So especially with the sort of game aspect of Twitch, obviously it's a primarily about broadcasting gameplay. I find it really interesting to see how other people react to either a game that you know and they don't, or a game that they know and you know, and you can sort of exchange notes, almost having people talk about, oh, did you notice that this is a thing, or did you ever see this, or um, that's sort of the thing I like the most. When I was at university, a lot of my friends, we sort of lived together in halls of residence. So we used to basically have our own apartment room, and then we could just go and hang out with each other in our separate rooms. And so I'd sit there with friends, and they'd be playing a game, and we could all just sit in a room together and chat. And Twitch chat's like that. You know, when six people are watching a broadcast on Twitch, that's not many people in Twitch's eyes. But if six people were in your room with you watching you play, that's quite a few. So that's sort of how I look at it. That's I really like that whole having that capacity to have a conversation with people and introduce them to new experiences, or go through it with them if they're already familiar with it, and talk to them through that. But I also find that just the general sense of community is something that I love so much. I'm now so invested in so many people from my chats, weekly routine, what they have for dinner. I want to know how they're doing. I want to know about their pets, their plants. I'm thoroughly invested. I've learned about time zones. I never thought I'd need to know what Queensland time in Australia would be compared to GMT, but I do. And it's something that I never really thought about, but it's just completely taken over every part of my sort of daily life.
Would you say that there's like a bad side to streaming?
I think there's a it's it's about spinning a lot of plates, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about, myself included. When you get started, is that, yeah, streaming is one part of it, but then you also have to, there's an unwritten social contract of Twitch where if you are very active on Twitch and lots of people are coming to your streams and they are also streamers, there's sort of that onus to say, well, I'm going to go and watch their stuff. And if you're easily distracted like I am, a lot of your day is then lost because you're just watching streams and engaging with the chats that are going on in lots of different channels. So that's sort of an issue that I tend to find. I think another downside is that Twitch is a very, very competitive platform, and I feel like I'm going to sound like I'm dragging Twitch for this, and I kind of am. This is going to be my rant. This is the one. But the issue I have with Twitch is that whenever I open Twitch, just on the front page, I always see the same people on the front page. It's always the top people with 10,000 viewers at least. Some of them are already celebrities. You know, um, the guy from the In-Betweeners is always on my Twitch front page. And I'm like, this guy's already famous. How's he a partner on Twitch now? Hang on. This guy was already, shouldn't you probably want to get someone who's not already famous on Twitch? And maybe they'd be a better ambassador. But it frustrates me seeing so many people with a massive following, so much of a following that Twitch chat, you can't even follow it. It's just thousands of people chatting all the time. I don't understand how you can really engage with a community of that size. I feel like there's a critical mass on Twitch where a community gets so big, you don't even know that you're in it. There's just so much going on. So I think that that's the thing that I don't like, is that Twitch funnels people, or rather it tries to funnel people into these massive rooms where a big name is broadcasting something and there's 9,000 people in the chat spamming emotes, when actually I think the thing about Twitch that I like the most is finding communities of people with less than a dozen viewers, maybe sometimes way more, but for the most part, smaller communities of people who have been, making content on Twitch in earnest for years with little to no success by Twitch's metrics. They've been broadcasting on Twitch to an audience for 4 years, and Twitch doesn't even care enough to offer them affiliate or partner or anything of the sort. So I think that's the one thing that I think, especially if someone's looking to get started on Twitch, that will always be my advice: is just don't look at the front page, because all you'll see is people who have been doing this for, almost a decade, with a massive following on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of those platforms. And starting out, when you press that go live button for the first time, it's very hard to feel like you're going to reach anyone, because that's exactly where I was in 2014. No one was watching, and I was sort of screaming into the void. There was no one there, and it made me feel awful. And what made it worse was seeing how massively successful some people were being on Twitch while not really engaging with chat, not really building a community. They were just, playing a game, and if they messed up, all of the chat members would just laugh at them. And I felt like that's not what I would want from this. So that's kind of my that's my beef with Twitch, is that it seems to glamorize this idea of having tens of thousands of people watching you, but then if there's that many people, you can't hear anyone in chat. There's no way to have a dialogue with anyone, because every message is just swamped and flooded away before you've even had time to read it. So I feel like if I did want to eventually, stream full time, I'd be very apprehensive and anxious to see if I could still maintain that sense of community, because the bonds I've formed with people on Twitch are genuine and meaningful. I'm so invested in these people that if it got to a point where I couldn't even see their messages in chat because they were going by too quickly, I'd be devastated. So that's the one negative that I think of mainly.
So would you not really want to be popular in that way?
I think there's a very fine line. So there's a few people who I've watched, on YouTube mainly, who then transition to Twitch, who make a living on Twitch, absolutely make a living on Twitch. They get tons of support from an amazing community, and they've got 250,000 followers on Twitch. But I can go in there and I can post in the chat, and my message gets seen and I get acknowledged, and I still feel like I'm part of that community. So there's hope for me yet, that I feel like if I do get to a point where I'm able to get quite a sustainable income from Twitch, enough to be able to do it full time, that I would still be able to engage with people on a one-to-one basis and make it meaningful and wholesome. So I'm not completely against the idea of having a big community and being able to do it, but I'm determined that if I do get big on Twitch, I want it to be not at the expense of that sense of community.
Would you say that Twitch is more difficult than YouTube?
Honestly, no. I think YouTube's absolutely brutal. I've been making videos on YouTube for 4 years, and the algorithm has decided to pick up one of my videos once, and I got 10,000 views, and I got less than 100 subscribers out of it. I think retention on YouTube is very difficult, more so than Twitch, because like you can comment on something on YouTube. You can be like, hey, this video is really good. And maybe the person will respond right away. But there's no guarantee. Whereas with Twitch, if someone's stream overlays look great, their room setup looks adorable. You know, if they've got great plants in the background and some nice lighting, and a really crisp webcam, their their mic quality is amazing. Their overlays look great. The gameplay looks good. If everything's great, you can just be like, "This looks amazing. Love your setup," and they can immediately be like, "Thank you," and you can immediately have that conversation, and you can get an idea of the kind of content they're creating, and um, I don't know, YouTube just feels so much more competitive and even worse than Twitch. You know, looking at YouTube's trending page, seeing people get 70 million views in a day with like some clickbaity thumbnail where they're like, OMG, I did what? And then it's just a video of them just reacting to TikToks. And it's like, oh, okay, this isn't anything. Um, I think it's much easier to feel like you're just not reaching anyone on YouTube because at least with Twitch, if someone's watching you, you get that immediate validation of seeing that there's one viewer or, you know, however many viewers, you know that it's reaching people. Whereas with YouTube, you have to keep going back and checking. Once you've uploaded it, you can pour thousands of hours into making a video on YouTube and then upload it, and it might never reach anyone. The way the algorithm works, it might not even reach your subscribers. So I think YouTube is way, way tougher than Twitch, definitely. So I can totally sympathize.
Do you still plan on posting YouTube videos though?
Oh, absolutely. I love making YouTube videos. I used to make sort of very edit heavy meme videos, and I mean they did great, and I'm very proud of them. Not proud of them. I feel like I wouldn't have shown my nan them because she'd just probably be like, "What is happening?" And it wouldn't make any sense because all the jokes would go over her head. Um, but I'm sort of rolling into making video essays. Since streaming on Twitch, I've become more comfortable hearing my own voice, and um, you know, I feel more confident in doing something like that. So I've started writing video essays. Um, a lot of people who I love on YouTube are video essay channels. People like Shami and Leon Massey are two of my favorite people on YouTube. I adore them, and all they do is just talk about very niche things in sort of 8 to 20 minute videos that are quite light on editing, but the content is great and it conveys a great deal of information. Um, and that's sort of what I want to do as well. You know, if I'm not doing stuff on Twitch, I'd record stuff on YouTube. I'm working on videos anyway. If I'm going to be editing Twitch highlights down, I've already got the software, I've got the know-how. I may as well make videos as well. I sort of like the idea of having the unedited long form streams, but then like a very edited, tightly focused topic of conversation happening on YouTube as well. It's nice to have the sort of dichotomy of those two things happening at the same time. So
I noticed that you have another Instagram as well for miniatures.
yes, I do. So I do love painting miniatures. I got into D&D a few years ago. A friend at work invited me to play Dungeons and Dragons with him, and I was like, yeah, let's do that. And I played a game, and I got given a miniature to sort of represent my character in the game, and I was like, oh, this is neat. And then the next day I went into town, and we have a sort of game shop, board games and Pokemon cards and miniatures, and I picked up a character from the D&D sort of shelf, and it was two characters for £4.99, and I was like, yep. And I think I bought like £50 worth of paints and brushes, and I was like, this is it. And I've just been painting miniatures ever since. And I made an Instagram just to sort of mainly follow people who painted miniatures who were tremendously talented artists, to give me inspiration, to give me ideas of what sort of colors I should use, what sort of techniques I should use. And then I started posting my own stuff just to be like, well, this way I can just tell people to follow this Instagram instead of me sending them a text or like message on Facebook every few weeks being like, painted another one, and they just be like, ugh, this again. So that's sort of how I got into that. But it's taken a back seat since streaming started. But I still do indulge. I've got a couple of miniatures on my desk at the moment. Um, and yeah, it's a really fun hobby. It's very calming, and it's a nice creative outlet for me. I'm terrible at painting. Sort of, if you give me a blank canvas, I won't know what to do with it. But if I have, a plain matte white miniature, it's already in a pose. I already know what it looks like. I know where colors will go, and I can get a great deal more enjoyment out of that than if I tried to paint on a canvas. So that's why I like the miniature painting rather than regular painting.
So would you never consider selling them?
I wouldn't be averse to the idea. No, I would certainly be happy to sell them if there was a market for them, but I don't know. I I mean, honestly, there are so many better people painting miniatures for money. You can commission some incredible artists to paint you an army of miniatures for honestly not that much. So I wouldn't be averse to the idea. Maybe I'll auction some stuff off to raise money for charity one day or something like that as a proof of concept. But yeah, I'm not against the idea. I think it's just we'll see. That's something I hadn't ever really thought about. You've raised a good point.
Well, I think when you say that there's a lot of like other good artists out there, you could say the same thing about streaming. There's so many other streamers that are really popular. Why bother streaming?
Well, that's sort of the conversation I had with myself back in 2014. I was just like, you know what? This isn't for me. There's people here on Twitch with thousands of viewers. There's no way I'm ever going to make it. No one wants to watch me. I'm boring. I've got a stupid face. My voice is whack, and my gameplay's terrible. No one's going to get any entertainment out of that whatsoever. And that's sort of why I gave up in the first place. I was like, that it's clearly not that there would be no reason for people to come to see my stuff when there are already better people on the platform. And I don't know, that's definitely the wrong mindset. Not maybe, that is definitely the wrong mindset. Everyone is unique and everyone's content is unique. And more than anything, the personality of the streamer makes the content 100%. I watch people whose personalities I love, who the streamers I love, play games that I would never in a million years be invested in, or do things that I wouldn't be interested in if they're doing like just chatting or IRL streams. I wouldn't really care, but because of who they are, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll watch this. What's going on here? What is this? So explain this game to me. I sound like my grandparents. They're like, so what do you do in this game? Who are these little people on the screen? So, yeah, I guess in that regard, like there are better people out there on Instagram, but I like to post stuff every now and then just for myself to be able to go back, scroll back through and be like, oh no, yeah, I actually have got better. Yeah, this is nice, and it's a nice validation. But also, I like that actually contributed to me getting the job that I have at the moment. In an interview for the job, they sort of brought up. They said, "Do you have any examples of using social media? Do you have any experience promoting stuff on social media?" And I was like, "Well, I market myself. I promote all of my own posts on social media. I started with 0 followers, and I built up a following of, I think at the time it was 160. And I was like, I started a few months ago, and I've already got 160 followers, and that's without any budget. That's without any sponsored targeted advertising. That's without any search engine optimization or anything of the sort." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And that they sort of, they were very interested in that, and it came up again in sort of a second interview. So they seemed very enthused by it. So I'm glad I've got it. I'm thankful to have it. It was a good first foray into promoting myself on social media, which has helped massively. When I made the transition to Twitch, being able to make another Instagram and putting my stuff out there, I'm much more comfortable with the idea of it, and I kind of know what I'm doing a little more. So, yeah.
What do you think it is that makes you different from other streamers?
Oh, that's so cruel. What a cruel question. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I couldn't really tell you. I think it's just I think everyone's unique in a sense, but I think it's just a combination of my humor and the types of games that I play and my my fondness for putting stupid voices on or my fondness for not putting a voice on and just being easy to listen to. Um, I use a lot of extra software and or hardware. So I've got, voice changers and soundboards, and I like to make a little bit more of an effort and a showcase of when people subscribe to me on Twitch and things like that. I think it's quite unique and quite high energy. As much as my voice might put people to sleep, for the most part, I want my streams to hype people up. So um, we'll we'll have to see if that carries me all the way. Um, I would hope that that would be enough, but we'll have to see. I'm very happy with how things have developed. I want to make some changes to how sort of my stream looks and how things shake down. But it's been really interesting, sort of going back and looking at some of my first streams that I did back in September. My overlay was completely different. My setup was completely different. Um, and I think my attitude was completely different. Obviously, I was starting out with no viewers and no community. I was essentially a gameplay commentary. It was just me talking to myself as I commentated everything I did. Um, but then once people started to show up and talk more, it was more about engaging with them. And it's been great to just build up a community of people who, as soon as they show up in the chat, I'm delighted to have them in there. I want to know how their day's going. I want to know what they're up to. I want to know what their plans are. I'm just super keen to keep that going and just meet more people, make more friends, build more connections. And if that community is as welcoming as it always has been, and if it continues to be that welcoming, then I'm very confident that we'll be able to really, really grow and expand over the coming years.
So would you say that streaming has changed you in a way?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's made me much more mindful of um, just everything. Really, it's just made me so much more conscious of um, my attitude. Um, it's made me more conscious of how I engage with streams. I used to watch streams and be like, cool, close the chat. Don't want to look at that. Just here for the content. But actually now I'm more interested in the chat than I am anything, because I think that's quite a good indicator of how the community of the person is going. If there's a load of people in chat and they're all being very nice and having very wholesome conversations, that's something I'm more interested in than if people are just all talking trash to the streamer in the chat. Although sometimes I do warrant trash talk myself. I think it's a bad omen if that's the first thing I see. I think it's changed how I play games entirely. When I'm not streaming, I'm still kind of in streamer mode. It's made me more confident talking to people. Uh, in a professional setting, I'm much more happy to, if for example, we're having a meeting where we're meeting sort of important stakeholders or people like that. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Sign me up. I want to get to know these people. It's given me much more confidence in myself. It's obviously given me confidence on my YouTube channel. I now feel much more confident putting myself out there and talking, because all I seem to do on Twitch is talk. As my community would tell you, I can just talk and talk and talk. Those poor people. So that's affected how my YouTube channels content is coming out. So it's not now every 4 months I'll put out a meme heavy sort of 6-minute video. I'll be working away at a video essay with doing research and writing a script and then recording the script and editing that. And those sort of come out in between those videos as well. And that's something I would never have had the confidence to do if it wasn't for Twitch. So that's something else that's really been brought out of me by Twitch. but it's just been a lifeline during the pandemic, as I'm sure it has been for so many people. I know in the past few episodes, it's been a concurring theme that I was feeling really not isolated, but I felt very restless during lockdown. I had lots of energy and nowhere to use it. And seeing people on Twitch, I was like, yeah, I could do this. I could definitely do this. And if I'm being brutally honest, there were people who I was watching on Twitch and I was just like, I could do this better than them. 100% I could do this better than them. And I was committed to going the distance to be able to actually say, yeah, no, I was right. So that was sort of why I started. And that has since given me that lifeline of, connecting with people and getting that sort of social element out of Twitch has massively helped me through lockdown. Definitely.
What's something that you've never told your viewers before?
Oh, um,
I know it's a really difficult question, but I
that is
love
an
to ask
excellent
it.
question. You know what? I knew this question was coming because I've heard it in previous episodes. And at the time when I was listening to a previous episode, I was like, remember this because you're going to get the same question.
It's my
And did I
favorite
think
one
of
to
anything?
ask.
No, I didn't think of anything. Um,
Everyone just seems so open with their viewers, so they can never really
yeah, I'm
think
trying
of
to think of what's
anything.
like a safe for work one. I don't want people to be audibly gasping on their commute or something like that if they're listening in. I once, when I was younger, I was offered a cup of tea by Mick Jagger, the lead singer of the Rolling Stones. I was at an event, and Sir Mick Jagger was in attendance, and I was standing next to him in the queue at the refreshment stand. I didn't even realize it was him. And he turned around and he was like, "Can I get you anything?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm all right." And then I realized who it was. And I was like, "Oh, I blew it. I can't now tap him on the shoulder and be like, okay, no, actually, what I meant to say was, no, hang on, cut. Let's do this again." I didn't get that chance. So I blew that opportunity to get myself a cup of tea courtesy of the Rolling Stones frontman. That's probably something I've never told anyone. Not told anyone, but not told my chat. Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the best answers we've had. Is there anything else that you want to add before we finish?
Ooh, I don't know. I feel like I've had such an up and down sort of. I've been sort of positive and negative about Twitch and YouTube, but I feel like I should reiterate to anyone who's considering starting out on either platform, just do it. You absolutely should do it. You don't need a £200 or $200 microphone or $150 webcam and a $4,000 RGB gaming PC to start. If you've got the tools to record the gameplay, or just a webcam to record you if you're going to do just chatting, just give it a try. Absolutely go for it. You've got nothing to lose and potentially a great deal to gain. So same with YouTube. If you've got videos and you're happy with them, just get them up there and share them with people. Don't be ashamed to say, "Hey, I'm trying out this YouTube or Twitch thing. I'm going to give it a try. What do you think?" Do it. That's what I did. I was just like, I think I'm going to get back into Twitch. And I told a few of my friends and they tuned in and they gave me some good advice. And I know that a lot of people, from personal experience, I've had this conversation with a few people. I know a few people don't want to tell their friends in real life that they're streaming on Twitch until they're like, make it, quote unquote, like they get a viewer base. Don't do that. Don't be too proud to tell your friends, because they'll come and watch and they'll put your viewer count up, and that is how you find more people. No, but do tell your friends and do share with people. If you're confident in that content that you're creating, you should be proud to share it with people. And they should, if they're, if they're friends, they'll help you grow, and they'll help you make the best content possible. I know I say Twitch and YouTube are saturated platforms, but if the content you're making is original, then there's room for you. There's always room for. I've always got time in my day to find new content on YouTube or Twitch. So if I've got time, anyone's got time. So give it a shot. Absolutely give it a shot, and you might find a community of like-minded individuals who want to support you and want to catch your content every time you go live. So there's always an opportunity for that to happen. So I would say take the plunge, but don't expect to explode and go viral overnight. It's a slow, gradual process, but it's like nurturing a plant. You have to just let it grow over time, and it'll get there.
Well, I think that's great advice. And I just want to say thank you so much for being on my podcast.
It is a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Do I need to plug my socials? Do I need to let people know where they can find me?
You can say whatever you want.
Yes, excellent. All right. Well, you can find me over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Bluntcast, or on Instagram at the Bluntcast. I'm also on YouTube as Bluntcast as well. That's all I've got for now, I think. Yeah, I don't have a TikTok yet. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, thank you again. I've had a lot of fun.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.